You might be thinking, you got all this product feedback. How do I get my team to actually build that in the product roadmap? Hey, it's Gary, 3 times head of growth. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how to influence your team using product feedback. As PLG leaders, you know getting product feedback is just the first step. You probably get a lot of product feedback, but the biggest challenge is sharing this feedback with your team and making sure that it leads to improvements. And in the product feedback, there's a lot of noise. And it's also not about the product feedback itself, it's the way you and your team experience that product feedback. Let's talk about common pitfalls when you influencing your team using product feedback. And the most common mistake is that you just type it up yourself and then you share it on Slack to your team. And usually it's a long report. You're trying to add all the details and all the context. You put a screenshot and everything like that. And honestly, that report, it's littered with bias. It's littered with your bias and all the things that you learn and all the things you know. From the recipient end, on the reader side, you know that, yeah, maybe the feedback is pretty cool, but like, I'm going to take it with a grain of salt because so-and-so shared this. The other pitfall is that you just dump all this product feedback into your team and you maybe ask them, hey, take a look, take a read and check it out. And of course, your team member, whether it's an engineer, designer, salesperson, marketing person, they're going to pick out the feedback that matches their worldview and their perspective on the product. And then they're going to double down on it. And it really doesn't help if it's not aligning to your product strategy and your vision. It just creates more confusion on how to interpret that data, which to take it with a grain of salt, which one is actually very impactful, which one has we heard a lot. And you don't want to do this because by sharing all this data, you might get your team going down a different direction. If not, just having spent a lot of time on the wrong discussions. A more effective approach in influencing your team using product feedback is sharing the Zoom recording of the customer feedback and letting them see the customer's face and their interaction in the screen share. So it might give them more context. But honestly, nobody has time to watch recording like you do unless they're forced to do so. The best method I found in getting your team to actually take action is for them to join customer calls. And for us, it means joining superhuman onboarding calls. We have about 3 to 4, 5 superhuman onboarding calls every single day. And that's many opportunities. There's no excuse to join a call and see how the customer struggle with the product. And when they see the customer struggle with the product, your team member has now real-time empathy. And they can also, it's very unfiltered, see where customers are getting stuck. And understanding the customer as a human, like a lot of times these customers are just things we share on Slack and Excel. And it's a real human person that have personality and maybe not tech savvy, or maybe they're just generally confused about your product. And learning about them give that sense of context that we're trying to fix our product, improve our product for Joe, for Mary, and James. And the type of customer calls to gather those product feedback, as I mentioned, is a superhuman onboarding call. 3 to 4, 5 calls a day. Just have your team member observe quietly. And I also keep quiet and then let the customer explore the product on their own and just let them struggle. And it will make the non-obvious obvious, or the obvious non-obvious. And letting them take the wheel naturally. The engineer and designer, they are observing, oh, clearly this is something I can fix. Another call is the post-activation follow-up call. And this happens a lot when customers leave feedback on review websites like G2. So setting up a call with some of those reviewers and bringing the engineer and designer on these calls, you're going to get a lot of feedback, unfiltered feedback, especially on these more advanced features or down funnel experiences. Getting your team on the product-led sales call, making sure that they're involved in some of this and seeing and hearing what the customers think and say about the paywalls, about the pricing packages, and learning how the customer is making business decisions and how they react to buying or upgrading your product. One of the notions you should challenge is that engineers just build and they don't interact with customer. Like every builder wants to know whether their customers, their users like the thing that they built, the product that they built, their software that they built, the house that they built. And so makers naturally want to understand what they created and how they're being used. And so for engineers, leaders that you encounter that don't believe this way, that definitely is a red flag. It's a big signal, because that means you are now more relied upon to create and in detail some of these solutions. And because the ownership is never shared, the final product development is going to be all over the place. And it's going to be a lot of wasted effort and wasted time in your life and in the organization, and things are not going to move in the right direction. So by involving your team in direct customer feedback, you're empowering them to own and manage and fix the product. You also allow them to identify the solution faster, so you as a team can make those improvements. It's also a learning flywheel, continuously improve the product. And it demonstrates a commitment to your customer and to your organization that it's about customer satisfaction and making sure that the customer is happy with our solution. And so as POG leaders, leveraging that customer feedback and wisely sharing those observations is a powerful tool to align your team, make sure that they have confidence in creating improvements, and making sure that the product roadmap is truly customer centric. Follow me on growthwithgary.com, or feel free to subscribe here to learn more about how to execute PLG, lead and operate and launch and be successful in SaaS.